And welcome back to another Book the Draw podcast. We had a super fully loaded episode last week, and we're back again to deliver some more because
When you are the smartest wrestling podcast, not only on the internet, but in the world, it's going to take a while to explain things because you want people to catch up to your intelligence level. So that's why it was super loaded last week. And I'm sure this week's going to be pretty similar.
I watched I watched the episode a couple days ago. We're a little late today, but when you're super over like we are, we got stuff going on, and just is what
When
it
you're this
is.
smart, you
You,
so many people
yeah,
want life advices that you gotta give it, right?
you you can't just isolate your intelligence to the
Right.
podcast as much as we would love to do that. But we're a little late, and that's okay. But I watched this a couple days ago, and then I watched this. I skimmed through it like about an hour ago because I wanted to refresh myself.
Right.
And I when I first watched it, I thought it was okay. But when I watched it back, I'm kind of mad. I don't know what say you.
Well, I understand that thought process. And I think it's just I've come to a point in my life that wrestling doesn't necessarily make me angry or mad, but it can frustrate me a little bit. And I think I use the word frustrate because what I'm seeing is so minuscule, but unfortunately, it's happening consistently. So if you have an hour or 44 minutes with commercials of minuscule things that could be approached in a different light or improved on, then at the end of it, it feels like a lot. But the good thing is, if all these little pinpoints were dialed in, I think we'd have a heck of a TV show. One of the best, kind of because it's an hour, but also they have so many upside, so much upside, and so many positives that I just want them to fix what could be perceived as negatives. And I put it that way because it's easy to, with all the drama on social media about Avery Styles and setting up rings and all that stuff, it's so easy to yell into the void with anger and rage bait to get people to pay attention. And that isn't what we're trying to do. And I'm not saying that you were trying to do that. I understand where you're coming
I'm
from.
exaggerating.
Right, but
I,
no,
I
but
think
no,
I think
I
I
do
think
understand what
you're
you're saying
saying
though.
it best. Is that frustrated? That's the better word. It's more on point. It's like we're seeing. I think we're starting to see consistent trends,
Yes.
and I keep using the word when I'm talking to you, sloppiness,
Yes.
and that's really it. And I agree. I think the show still runs smooth.
Yeah, very
It's
smooth.
enjoyable to watch. It goes fast, which it is. It is short, but like it's not like I think because so many wrestling shows are long that this being short works to its benefit. But
Absolutely.
it's I think they just need to kind of align kind of directions that they want to go with and just
Yeah.
kind of get that dialed in and maybe even cut down on some things because I think they did 4 matches this week and they did 4 matches last week. I think that's too many. Um,
See,
or maybe they just need to dial it in. That could be one thing too.
yeah, I think wrestling as a whole has to understand that sometimes not every match is going to be back and forth. Whether it's 2 minutes,
Yeah,
3 minutes, 8 minutes, you need to get over a story in the match. Now I know
especially weekly
that's kind of
television.
strange. Yeah, and I know that's kind of strange because I was definitely part of the era of wrestlers who did everything, um, was always back and forth. I tried not to do that when it came to like doing TV, um, which this is TV, so it's kind of it's a toss up. Um, 4 matches can be along with, as I said, about 44 minutes. Plus, you want promos to get guys over. Plus, you want video packages. Plus, you want to promote next week's TV. They obviously want to promote October 3rd. And disclaimer, I am chewing today because it's been a long day and tomorrow's going to be a long day, and this is going to be a long week. So I'm trying to calm myself, and Chew usually helps with that. And it also prevents me from escalating to get to that anger point when this
Maybe I
podcast
should
is
try
meant,
it.
but like, because I don't ever want to fall into that I'm just ranting and raving so that to get attention. And I think it's easy to fall down that rabbit hole if you're not careful. And we joke about the smartest wrestling podcast, but really, this isn't just a review. I believe you're going in with the same mindset. This is trying to be like an educational podcast, right? It's an educational podcast, not only about running wrestling TV, but wrestling as a whole. So if you're trying to get somebody to learn from what you're saying, if you're demeaning, if you're talking down to people, if you're constantly berating what you're seeing, I don't think anybody comes away going, oh, that's brilliant. I mean, I think that's one of the things why so many people have a disdain for Jim Cornette and his podcast, because they're listening to what I consider, because I know Jim personally, the comedy and the drawing people in and getting attention. They're only focusing on that, when if you listen, it might be a 3.5 hour podcast, but out of that, you're going to get about an hour and 45 minutes of some of the best education you can get. But you have to understand that the other hour and a half is meant to either make you laugh or despise the guy, because that's what makes money. And with this, like I said, we're trying to educate whoever is paying attention, whether it be people at MLP or wrestlers as a whole that are following that maybe want their destination to be MLP. Then hopefully this gives them some tools to really stand out. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at as a whole with everything. And that's not just this week. I think that's a combination, because now we're at week 4. And I think that's just my take on wrestling as a whole now, but specifically MLP, like we went into detail many times. You being in Canada, me being a former Canadian, now American citizen. I know, how do I say this? I know the mountain it is to climb to succeed as a pro wrestler when you live in a different country that's not United States or Japan or Mexico, that has a really strong wrestling history and wrestling presence in the
Foundation.
world,
Yeah.
right? Canada hasn't had a real presence outside of Canadian stars in US or Japanese promotions, Mexican promotions as well. That this could be something really special for the country of Canada. And I know we've spoken, offline about it. We both want that for them. But you also have to be honest about your critiques, and you have to be honest about what you see, because if not, then nobody's going to learn from anything.
And yeah, I'll just hammer it home. You already said it, but this isn't going to be rage baiting, and we're not going to yell into the void. And in fact, we're more looking to expound on the reasons why there's improvement, or there could be improvement.
Right.
So I think with that, we'll move into the opener, which they opened with a promo package with Johnny TV,
Which I
which
thought was
is
great, by the way.
yeah, very well done. Got
A
we
little
got
bit
a
on the goofy side with like the John Gresham character that they
yeah.
showed in there. But one thing that stood out to me was it's very clear that Johnny TV's been on TV for all of his career, because
Mhm.
he knows how to talk, he knows how to portray himself. He comes off as a star when it comes to watching what he's doing in the ring or what he's saying on the mic. And I think that's a plus. Like, that's somebody who is good to have on the show. And I also like that they're promoting and focusing on him, but they're not making him the main focal point. They're letting him stand out as a top performer without having to be the top guy, which I think is what is a good thing for the company, because often companies that are upstart kind of bank on those names to be their leader. And I think him as part of the package instead of leading the company is a really smart decision.
Mhm. And so then we had the match, which was Johnny TV, Evil Uno, TJ Perkins, and Jonathan Gresham in a fatal 4-way. And I think we talked last week. I don't like fatal 4-ways and triple threats. I made this clear. I said like it just kind of takes all the fundamentals that you use for storytelling and kind of either complicates it on this, like for no
Complicated.
reason.
It
Like it
does complicate
complicates
it.
it. Yeah. And especially in this specific case where there's no reason to do it. Like if you have reason where you got 4 guys vying for a championship, okay, we can do that kind of match once in a while. But I think last week you said you have a fatal 4-way formula. So my question is, did they come close to following that 4-way formula, or was it a little bit
Yeah.
different?
No, they had the correct formula. There was a couple things that could have been tightened up. And just to really hit home what you said, it does make it difficult and makes the storytelling of it a little bit more difficult, but I like that. Like as a wrestler, it's like I'm comfortable in a tag team match, in a singles match, and then I wanted to become comfortable in a 3-way or a 4-way or a 6-way or a gauntlet match or a cybernetico match, to get comfortable in those, because then you can be somebody that can be in any position and make it good. And this match picked up about halfway through. At the beginning, now you can tell me what you think, but to me, it looked like the only person that was going out there to try to steal the show was TJ Perkins.
Yeah.
Like at first,
Yeah,
it's like
I
everybody
agree.
was moving a little bit differently. Their strikes weren't as solid. Like when Evil Uno did the clothesline spot, it looked like he couldn't break an egg,
Mhm.
and then TJ's doing, the Savat kick, which people call the TNA kick, and his strikes look good, and his body language and his face, like TJP is, to me, is always a standout wrestler, but especially in this match, the beginning, to me, it was the TJP show because he looked phenomenal. And all 4 are super talented wrestlers.
Mhm.
All 4 understand TV wrestling, which helps the 4-way. 4-ways are a little bit more difficult on TV if you have somebody in them that's not familiar or doesn't have experience with wrestling on TV. And all 4 of these guys do, which I think really helped the match, because once it started doing like that 4-way down, I felt like it was pretty dang good up until the finish. But just that beginning thing, I don't know, man. It seemed off. It seemed like nobody was really go, 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 go. And not only that, I always hate, I shouldn't say hate. I dislike when the commentary have to make something up to make something make sense. So
Yeah.
Gresham and TJP had the octopus holds, respectively, on Uno and Johnny TV. And then they started chopping each other. And I think it was actually Dawn at this point that said something like, I don't know why they're doing that, because they're letting go of the hold and they're not really hitting each other very hard. Now
Well, they
you
were
can do
lazy.
that.
They were
Yeah.
lazy though. That's the problem.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like the idea was sound, but the execution wasn't there, which made the commentary have to fill it in. And that's a miscue for me. And that's kind of a part of the reason why I felt like at the beginning of the match, I was like, this is just going to be okay. And then from the 4-way down and the separate comebacks and the things they did after that, and, the way they set up going to the finish, I thought was really well done. This is the hard point. I understand why they put Evil Uno over. He's likely going to be on many of the shows. He's in Canada. He's not on AEW TV very often. So he can be a fixture in the promotion. But TJP's not really locked in anywhere. And he's been so impressive in the 2 matches he's had. And he got great chants. I mean, there was multiple times where you heard TJP chants during that match.
Mhm.
I would have liked him to be the focus, but I understand why they had Evil Uno win. I'm still shocked that he pinned TJ Perkins, because, like I said, I think he's only had 2 matches in 4 weeks, but I would say he's been the most consistent performer.
Yeah, I've loved everything we've seen from him so far, TJP. But I mean, it seems like they're trying to position Gresham in some kind of a heel, which
Yes.
rough I mean, would he be their top heel? Maybe, or at least one of them, top three.
Maybe.
But then and then Johnny TV, like they seem to have him in an elevated spot because they're
Yeah.
promoting him a bit. So realistically, if you're in this context, I guess TJP is the only one that can take the fall. But it's like
Yeah, but I don't. Maybe I'm more interested in a TJP versus Stu. And when Josh comes back, I know they have good chemistry. So maybe I'm looking at it from eyes of match quality moving forward and not necessarily star quality, because I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I can get on with that. It's like we're critiquing what we see, and then we're giving outside thoughts. And like
Right.
I wouldn't have booked a 4-way. If anything, like would this have been better if it was a tag?
See, my thing is what they missed, and I forget what week it was. We brought up. I like that the commentators were talking about, all the men or whoever was in the matches is vying for a championship. I think that's all it takes. That again, that has to be kind of set in stone. Like
But
I
that wasn't
prefer.
mentioned at all. I don't
That's what.
think.
Yeah. That no,
Yeah,
it wasn't. It wasn't. That's what I'm saying. I think stakes can be put on any match if you reference the championship. Because like anything, I mean, if you watch boxing, a boxer racks up a bunch of wins, then he's in title contention, right? You watch baseball, basketball, they're all vying for a top seed in the playoffs, and the only reason you get a top seed in the playoffs is wins. So like if you hammer that home, and that's my take on pro wrestling, because I still like a little bit of sports feel, a little bit of there's stakes in everything we do because wins matter and losses matter. And sometimes we forget that. And I also think social media plays a big part in that, where wrestlers, you know, will be like, I know I didn't win, but I'm proud of my performance and this and that. And it's like, I would rather you say, I don't care what people are saying about my
yeah.
performance because I lost and that's what matters. But it's a different world. It's a different time. I understand. I'm not saying that I haven't been guilty of it in the past. I'm just saying, looking now at things and really breaking down a TV, not just to review it, but to also critique it in a manner that people can learn from. I think I look at it at much clearer eyes. I'm almost like when I teach a seminar, this is how I'm looking at this, right? So you're looking at it through a different lens when you're trying to educate somebody or educate multiple people, and you just have a tendency of watching it from a different eye. And I mean, what we're talking about really stands out to me. Like I said, I think, I mean, I also am a big fan of working with TJP. I've worked with all four guys, and all four are super talented. But I don't know, man. TJP is just so crisp. He's just, I think he's unbelievable.
Did you see the Tower of Doom spot? I mean,
Yes.
I'm sure you did, but it I didn't. I don't know if they were trying for something and didn't get it, or I don't know. It kind of just seemed all kind of clunky.
Yeah, and
I
those
thought
can be, I like Tower Doom spots. I find are better with three people,
right.
just because you can make sure all of them take impact. Four-way, there's often somebody standing on the mat, and then they have to sell because it's a Tower of Doom spot. But I liked how they went to the four-way down, with the
Mm-hmm.
separate strikes and the crossbody attempt, and Evil Uno just body checked it. And like, I thought it was a good four-way down. And really, from there is where it really hooked me. I watched everything very intently, but when we got to the four-way down and moving forward, that's where I was like, yeah, this is getting really good.
And it got the crowd too. They did get the
Yeah.
crowd.
Yeah.
So that's all I got. But yeah, Evil Uno, he hit his. I guess that's his move, whatever they called
Yeah, I
it.
forget what he calls it, but he's been doing that a long time,
Yeah,
which I think it looks cool.
yeah. So we'll have to keep tabs on that, and then we got some more Adam Copeland promos. I think it was the same one from last week. So it was. I mean, Adam Copeland, Toronto. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I think, and they're not only putting emphasis on the show, the emphasis why the show is important to Adam Copeland, which I think
mhm.
adds a lot to it. And they're sold out now, right? So I mean, good for them.
2,500 tickets. So that place should be rocking.
Have they
And
announced that it's gonna be like available live anywhere, or is it just
I haven't heard anything of that. We were talking about that earlier.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming like they should have the same production crew to tape it. Like I think they would have
Yeah, but I
something.
wonder if they would do something live. Now I wonder if
No, yeah, for sure, like a pay per
my
view or
A
something.
yeah, I wonder if my AEW has the capacity to do live streaming or not.
Right.
I haven't really
Right.
looked into the site, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'd be curious if they would live stream it because they, at a reasonable price, I could see them doing some buys if they get the card really
But
tight. And I think
they did a live pay per view with ROH. I think it was
right.
in April or
Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea. But yeah, I guess they'd have to pair up with AEW if they went that way. But I mean, for sure, like if there's this much demand in Toronto, you'd think West Coast of Canada or the United States or whatever, they'd be all over this.
Yeah, and like Adam Copeland just isn't a star only in Canada. Yes, he's from Canada. Yes, he's from the Greater Toronto area. But you would think his name alone, and I don't know for sure, but I would assume maybe Josh will be back by then because
I
I believe his injury was
I
meniscus.
think Josh is going to wrestle him, and that's my
That
speculation.
yeah, that babyface though. I don't know. Do you
I
want him in a
agree.
babyface match?
I think that's I mean Josh might not even be healthy. I'm going out on a limb a little bit, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm going with. I think it's going to be Josh
And
and
that's a fair
Adam.
point. I mean, I could see the selling point of that. You would almost have to stream it through AEW because Josh is a heel there, but he's a babyface in MLP. So that's maybe the difficulty I'm seeing because when you bring somebody in, the dynamics of face heel is always going to be better than a babyface match. Especially in Toronto, you're going to have a crowd that's pretty unanimously on Adam Copeland's side. So in my eyes, you'd want to put a heel against them just for the atmosphere alone.
So the next match we had Big Alice Crowley versus Taylor Rising. The girls didn't get entrances, unfortunately. But like, so when I watched this back earlier, like I feel like this is going to be a theme in this episode is the importance of getting heat.
Yes.
Because with this, like the biggest thing, and especially kind of, I feel like you want to get sympathy on Big Al.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of doing a whole bunch of things.
It's almost like they just did the match to get to the aftermath.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Like they might have been more focused on that, but we're going to talk about the match first. There was a thing in the ropes. And
we'll get to there. But first, I wanted to start right at the beginning. I thought they both had a hell of a lockup, though.
Yeah.
Which sometimes people do not have good lockups. And, not in a bad way, but sometimes lockups aren't very intense when it comes to women's divisions. But man, they had a hell of a lockup. I was really impressed. Like right off the bat, that lockup, I was like, damn, that's a good lockup.
The lockup was good. Yeah, it was a good start. And they came in, they really had some ferocity to it, but then they didn't really wrestle much.
I agree. I agree with that.
Like that irks me a little bit where it's like, okay, like it's become a trope to like, okay, let's go out there and show them a big lockup. And then they don't really grapple. And
another thing, and most people do this, when they do the backup to the corner, there's no real struggle in the backup, right? Like you got to think you're supposed to be two Mack trucks in drive trying to push each other back. And it just kind of starts with a little tussle, and then it's just the regular old let's step. Like you don't need to go directly to the corner. Maybe you get a couple steps in and then they get a couple steps in and then you go a little bit harder. And the facial expressions got to go and the body language has got to change. And that's not just with these two. That's universal. There's a lot of universal tropes in wrestling that I see more and more. And the best I can come up with is there's not enough people, which blows my mind on a TV product with whoever's agenting the matches per se. Like these tropes are coming through. And it's like people are just doing moves to do moves and not understanding why we do moves, not understanding, okay, if we did this before, this comes after. If we do this, this comes after. Where are we in the match? What happened before? What's going to happen after? And it's just like throwing stuff out there like, oh, I'd like to do this spot. I'd like to do this spot. I'd like to do that spot without, okay, well, if you want to do that spot, we got to do this first for that spot to make sense. And we got to do this spot for that spot to make sense. And that seems like it's pretty often what I see when it comes to wrestling. And that's everywhere, you know. WWE's a little bit better, and the real top guys at AEW are really good at it. But as a whole, when people send me matches, when I watch clips online, when I watch indie shows, when I watch MLP, when I watch TNA, when I watch NXT, it's more just a performance instead of working. And there's a big difference between working and performance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I wish people would focus on. And why my number one goal is to reopen a great pro wrestling dojo where people can learn to really work. Because to learn how to work, your performances are better because they don't look like performances. And right now, everything's just starting to look like a performance. Like,
I
oh,
was
this
just
is
gonna
wrestling.
say, I blame the trainers.
I mean, yeah,
There's not enough trainers but
there's
I mean,
not
yeah,
enough
that's
good
exactly it.
trainers. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
not
not
enough
enough.
good trainers.
Yeah,
And but that's exactly it. It's like this match was probably more performance driven than, wrestling working driven.
yes,
And
and that, but
that
that's
kind
not
of
that's like
it's not this
across the
specific
board,
match. It's
right?
pretty commonplace, but it segues into my next point, which is the rope spot. I already
Yes,
mentioned it, but Big Al pushes Taylor into the ropes, and I'm not sure she misstepped or if it was, I don't want to say a botch, but like whatever, she
it looked
messed
like
up.
she didn't get the arm over the rope.
She messed up,
Yeah.
whatever. You don't gotta call it a botch, but whatever. They kept going. They worked with it, and then like Taylor gets up at one point and is like, and you can hear this on the audio where she's like, "You did that on purpose," and it just like, well, you would think she did that on purpose. It's supposed to be
Right.
a work, but Morrow even caught it on commentary because Morrow was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
But that's
But
probably nerves, right? That's probably a
yeah,
little bit of nerves,
oh, for sure, yeah,
not
for
wanting to
sure.
mess up when you know you're going on TV. But beyond that point, what frustrates me is then Alice came in and she has some pretty damn good strikes. And I know that because she did spend some time up here in St. Louis with me, actually driving with Megan Bine and a couple other lesser known people from that Indianapolis, or Kentucky area. And she had some great strikes, but then it was like the miss up on the ropes. Alice went to her, gave her a couple strikes, and it was whip reverse. And they did that a couple times in the match where they're laying in a couple strikes and whip reverse. And I know I brought this up on Facebook, and I know I brought this up in the Discord chat. There's a difference of having somebody on the ropes or in the buckle and giving them strikes and whip into the reverse. Then maybe we're in the center and you throw a punch and I block it and I punch you, and then you're selling off. If I don't hit another strike, that's okay because you selling away created distance, which created time for you to sell, which now if I just come in straight, go to whip you and you reverse, we can do that because there's that little bit of time where you register it, it hurts, and then you've created enough space to kind of get your stuff together so that you can then reverse it. But when you're on the ropes and you're doing a bunch of things and then you go to shoot them and they reverse it, you're just wasting your strikes at that point. And again, that comes from the novice nature of some of these wrestlers. I mean, I know Alice has been doing it for quite some time. I think she was training with me in like 2020, 2019, and she's only 23 now. So, and I don't know how long Taylor Rising has been working, but it just comes down to one, the trainers not explaining what to do and what not to do and how to do it and how not to do it. But the lack of experience kind of shows, and that takes I wish every company had a couple mentors where they don't necessarily agent the matches, but they watch everything. And then when somebody comes through the curtain, hey girls, hey guys, let's go over here and talk about a couple things so you can get it down, or even taking notes and say, hey, let's talk about it. Then I'm going to send you this email. And I think that comes to where like wrestling kind of seems like too many people are treating it as a hobby rather than treating it like something they want to do, right? I mean, we've all heard the terms, I shouldn't say the term, the saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you got. It's the same thing in wrestling. Wrestling for the job you want, not the job you got. And sometimes people are just wrestling for the job they got.
But now, so okay, this is Book to Draw, the smartest wrestling podcast in the world, and do you think they just planned too much? Do you think if they had cut down on things that they wanted to execute, because we mentioned the issues that come up when you punching someone and then go to whip reverse, but do you think they were just trying to get extra seconds to actually communicate and get on the same page?
Could be. I mean, that definitely could be something. But even then, communicate to get on the same page, but still make it make sense. Right. And that's again the lack of knowledge. And that's not a bad thing. There's gonna be a lack of knowledge because there's always gonna be someone who's been around longer, who's had more bigger opportunities, more chances to be in with people who can give that on the job learning. And I think, you brought up the trainers, but I don't think there's people who are capable to help others be on the job learning. Like that was one of my favorite things. That's why I did so many indies when I was with Ring of Honor before we got the exclusive contracts. Why I did so many indies when I was home from Japan or Mexico, and why I did indies when I was with TNA. I enjoyed working with someone and being able to teach him in the ring. I enjoyed somebody going, what's next? What's next? And me going, settle down. We don't got to worry what's next. Worry what's right now. And let's just do right now. And when we're ready for the next thing, I'm going to tell you and we're going to do it. And there's not a lot of people out there who are capable of doing that just because they're not comfortable in their skin. And not only that, it's going to be harder for people to get those opportunities on TV because you're going to want to put the top guys with top guys. I mean, they're doing, Rohan with Stu, learning experience for Rohan because Stu's been around for some time. I can't remember when he started, but a bit after me, probably around that 2006 is, maybe 5, so a few years after me, but he's been around a long time. And it will be a learning experience for Rohan to work with him, I think. But that on the job learning is so important. And without having a plethora of people to be able to teach the people they're working with, I think we're just going to constantly see a lot of this. Just as I said, those little things. I'm not even saying the match was bad. I'm believe that both of these girls have a better match in them, and they just need to focus on what it takes to be comfortable to do that 100 times out of 100. And that's repetition. That's the right people in your corner. That's getting the right advice. That's listening to the right people. And maybe they just don't have enough people with enough knowledge around them. Even being on a production like this, clearly someone in the agent chair is not focusing on the details, and the details matter because the in-ring wrestling can help tell any story you're telling. And it didn't seem like it was telling a story here.
Yeah, and so the I guess the story they were going for, and I'm basing this off the finish, was that Taylor was supposed to beat her up really good.
Yeah.
And then Alice squeaks out a quick rollout and comes out victorious, which I can get on board with that because you get the crowd behind the baby face, you get heat on the heel, etc. But again,
But it wasn't presented that way.
Well, yeah, exactly what I was just going to say. It's with what they did and presented, like it's like Alice almost didn't really have time to sell and show pain because Taylor was just on her so much. And I don't know if she smothered her necessarily, but like they were constantly moving into different things.
Yeah.
And But then so they go into the finish, and Big Al gets a roll up, and she pins her, and then even that, like she stands right up and puts her hand up, where it's like
but that made sense. I'll tell you why that made sense in that situation. So if we go to the comeback to that spot, it was literally chin lock, come up, Taylor throws a clothesline, she ducks, and then come back, kick out, stop, shoot, and into the wheelbarrow. There was no real for Alice to have at that finish. Now that it was the correct way to do it, I'm saying how they did it, there was no reason for Alice to sell after getting that roll up, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is like
it should have been done in a way that allowed Alice to squeak it out and then sell. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying the way they did it, there was no way, because after the Saito suplex, there was like a quick stop, shoot into the ropes, right into the wheelbarrow pin, right? Because what did Taylor use as her finish against Alexia Nicole? What was her finish?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
No.
I don't remember either, and I don't know why.
The pedigree.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it should have been something maybe big to stun her, and then go for the pedigree, and then maybe Alice, rolls out and throws something, and then Taylor grabs the waist lock and then picks her up for the German into that same pin. Like just something to stop the momentum. Or even as Alice rolled out, she grabs the German right away and does something.
Well, yeah, and I think truthfully, I would have even changed the pin, just thinking of what makes sense. And now that we're just riffing on things, I'm starting to jog some brainstorming. Taylor could have gone for the pedigree and really set that up as like, okay, this is the end, and then Alice just pulls her legs out and rolls through and
jackknife. Yeah, that could have been it for sure.
So,
and I would have maybe liked Chris to cause something after the Saito to get Taylor up and then go for the pedigree and then do that.
I wrote that down. Reason being was because after the match we had Chris Chambers PCO segment, but what happened was Chris Chambers came in the ring and was going to put the sharpshooter on Big Al. But I wrote down Chris Chambers should have gotten involved, and then Big Al wins. So like he gets whatever, it gets foiled, and Chris Chambers takes a little bump off the apron or something. And that gets him angry to then come in the ring and I'm gonna fuck this bitch up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I would have and this is why I like talking things, because exactly what I have written is I would have had Chris cause a distraction after the Saito, giving Taylor something to stop Alice's momentum, going for the pedigree leading into a roll up. After that, I would have had Chris come in while Alice is selling and kind of like grab her by the hair, kind of not hitting her, but kind of like, then Alice slap Chris, then Taylor gloms Alice, and then here comes the sharpshooter, right? Like that just sounds so much, so much better for the heat, even on Chris, like just coming in and doing that, you know what I mean? Like, let's tell the story. And it's like, yeah, the interjection, but then it turns, then he's pissed, and it's almost like, do I hit her? No, I shouldn't hit her because she's a girl. I'm definitely, because Chris has been a long time. He has facial expressions, great body language. Like, as I said, that could be done, and it's not being done. Are in the viewer. Like, just imagine being somebody who turns on TSN, not in years,
right?
And you see that roll up, and the guy hands on her, and then her, it's like, yeah, you slap him, and then she gloms him, and he's like, oh, you want to play your games? All right, let's put on the sharpshooter. Man, wrestling can be so good. It can be great. It really can be great.
And you think about
just those little bit of like, look at the on your face, because you're playing it in your head.
Yeah.
playing it in your head and going, man, that sounds great. It would come off fantastic on TV.
Yeah.
Because it's like good wrestling, that's how it makes me feel. We're because what could have happened, we're like, damn, give me this book. Give me let's write this. We'll do it perfect, right? And don't get me wrong, hindsight's 2020, but I also like when I think of wrestling, this is what I think about. Because the moves are nothing. And when I say that, what I mean is you could send me 15 chimpanzees and I'll teach them how to wrestle. But I can't teach them how to work.
Yeah.
But you send me 15, you send me Taylor and Alice and Faction and all these guys and girls and give me 3 weeks with them, Monday to Friday. I promise you, every match is going to look different. Because when your mindset goes that way, it becomes the first thought. And then by the time you get to the fifth thought, like if we had 2 nights, let's say, which normal, I don't know how they do it now, but I know back in the day, everybody would fly to Scott's house and they'd sit in his house and they'd book all night, right? And they do that for 2 or 3 days. Give me 3 days. By the time the finished product is going to be out, thing that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. Right. But if we really have time to hammer it out and don't want to be on the podcast for 15 hours, that's the first thing that comes out. But once we, hammer it down and figure out where we're going, we can get there.
But, and I think if you think about the crowd reactions, whereas like,
right.
It's almost like if we made like a sound decibel chart,
yes,
and we mapped out all the moments that we'd create if you piece this out properly and really flesh things out, and then like all the decibels of like how the way they laid it out, it would just be like ours would just be constantly going up and down, and theirs just kind of like a little art,
which is exactly what I brought up before. To me, wrestling is like music, baby. Yeah, you got to hit all the notes, the highs and lows. You got to have some nice melody, and then you have to go up high on the pitch. You have to get the drums coming in. You have to get the beat coming in. Throw me a little saxophone in there if you don't mind. Everything together makes a beautiful picture at the end. And for the terms art and cinema, not a lot of people are giving me cinema or art, no matter what they say. And it can be done. I mean, we're just talking about it, and it's simple. It's really that simple. Yeah, I get excited. Like, one of the reasons why I look forward to doing this is like, I can tell my wife this stuff. She doesn't know what I'm talking about. She'll support me, but she doesn't understand, right? I'll tell my 2-year-old and she just looks at me like I have so many thoughts and ideas when it comes to wrestling because I'm so passionate about it, that expressing it with somebody who can follow along, and hopefully people are listening and paying attention and understanding, like, man, what they're saying really does make sense. And then hopefully they go, hey, I have this match and my opponent has a manager. Let's try something that was talked about and see how it works. And then maybe that at least opens up the pathway of new ideas of their own. And it's like, yeah, man, wrestling can be unique. It can be special. To me, it can be one of the greatest forms of entertainment in the entire world. And I don't know where that went away. I know there's still definitely some high points. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sound like back in my day. No, I'm just saying there are things from the past that if we do correctly in the present, it's going to make the future stronger.
But yeah, so and more onto that, after the match, so Chris Chambers comes in and he goes to put the sharpshooter on Big Al. He doesn't actually do it; he's just ready to do it. And then the lights go out and PCO comes out, which was awesome. And they had the big casket. And who was the other guy that's with him? Is that
his name? D something, right?
Okay.
I can't name long, and the only reason I don't remember, I haven't seen them together for quite some time, but all those PCO promos when he was really breaking back out, he always had them in the vignettes. Right. He would film himself, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, well, the presentation was awesome. They had the electric stuff and they jolted him and he came out of the casket and it was great. so more along of what we were talking about, like Chris Chambers is in the ring and it looks like he's like shitting his pants, scared.
Yeah.
And I just kind of thought that like made him look weak. But what kind of made this a little bit incongruent was he goes from like, holy shit, what the fuck am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And then the next scene when PCO comes in the ring, he's attacking him with a chair, which PCO then no sold, which okay, that's whatever, that's what they laid out. I just thought that like using logic and common sense could make that flow a little bit better. But
I think he should have sold like how he sold at first, but should have come out of that like he was ready for him before he did the chair.
Or that, yes.
You know what I mean?
Then then at least there's like progression, and it
because it just went from makes sense. Oh my god, to then the chair, right? And I would have actually liked the camera to Taylor throwing in to Chris.
Yes,
because clearly I would have liked to see that, even if PCO stepped and opened up the camera shot a little bit to see Taylor handing it to him. You know, PCO's ducking under the rope, open up the shot. Here's the chair. Then we focus on him standing up from getting through the ropes. And then there's the gut shot. There's the back shot. But yeah, and again, these are all those little things we're talking about, because on the surface, if you don't recognize what we're saying, you're like, well, that's kind of what they did. It's like, yeah, that's right. It's kind of what they did, but they could have done it.
The decibel chart.
Yeah, it really is, man. It's the difference between, listening to, I don't even want to say it because I'm sure my musical taste people are going to bitch about, but it's like listening to a classic song compared to a new song that nobody's really listening to and really not that good. Like, it's still music, right? And it's still enjoyable at certain points, but there's classics are classics for a reason. You can play them whenever for whoever, and everybody's going to understand why it's a classic. Or you can just play music. Hey, I like this song. Oh yeah, I can see why you like that song.
But yeah, and again, and we've riffed on this before. It's that like emotional connection with the audience where they're like, yeah, the show was good, or they're like, wow, that was the greatest thing ever, and I was on the edge of my seat, and but
and one thing I really like about this segment was that they had him tease the moonsault and Taylor pull Chris out, because if you're following MLP, they had announced for the tapings that just passed, it was going to be Taylor and Chris against PCO and Shotzi.
Right.
So that hopefully the moonsault is the finish in the tag match, because they teased it for this, which is great storytelling over X amount of episodes. So that was one, because we often like to point out what we would have done better, but I want to make sure we always give kudos to what was done great. And teasing the moonsault, because the crowd was coming up for the moonsault, and then Taylor pulling out got good booze on them, so they got a little heat. So they finished this segment very strongly.
Mm-hmm. So then we have our next match. It's Michael Allen, Richard Clark versus Luigi Primo, with Zach Gowen on commentary, which I think referring back.
Can we pause for 1 second?
Tell me.
Because I want to shout out Taylor and Alice for a spot. They did do the headlock tackle spot, but they didn't do the rest of it. And instead they turned it to where they did it out of the corner with a hip, with Taylor doing the up and over and going to hip tops Alice, and then Alice switching it. And I wanted to say kudos to them, even though that's a pretty, typical spot. At least they did something to differentiate from the normal tackle, drop down, leapfrog, hip toss. Mm-hmm. And I had that in my notes, and I want to make sure I covered that, because I like when you use the regular moves and transitions, but change it up just enough that it looks different from what you're typically seeing. So kudos to those two before we get into the next match.
And see, again, we are hopeful to have people succeed. It's really not just about tearing people down. I think we make that clear.
No, yeah. Definitely nothing is meant, I know we've said this a couple times, but I think the important. None of this is to tear anybody down. None of this is to make somebody feel less bad. It's just a realistic view of how inside the business, and someone with a lot of experience, and two people with a lot of guidance from wrestlers view something. And yes, you're wrestling for the fans, but wrestling for the higher ups who really want to give you a job is also wrestling for the fans, because they pay attention to those little things that get people hooked. So what we're saying is not meant as a, hey, you suck, get out of the business. It's, hey, you have adding little things will make you that much better, and that's what we want.
So
And I say that right now because I was not a fan of the next match.
yeah, okay. I wasn't either. But it was Michael Allen, Richard Clark versus Luigi Primo. And I think even last week when we previewed this, I was like, I was open. I had an open mind, but I was like, I don't think I'm going to be into this. But I think even what I said was, I was hopeful that this spot could be taken advantage of, similar to what they should have done with Psycho Mike. But I think Psycho Mike would have been better served in this spot, because at the very least, he would have been more over. Luigi Primo had a little bit of the fan. The crowd was there a little bit with him, but as the match kind of progressed, it really kind of just like it exposed a lot of things, and that like this guy is basically just a viral video. And a thing that realistically, we talked about monkeys. A monkey could do this spot where he's twirling a pizza dough and having a wrestling match, but it makes no sense.
What took me out of it is right off the bat, he gets put in an arm wringer and he's twirling the pizza.
Yeah.
And he did that multiple times where something's happening and he's playing with the pizza. It takes away from the match. And this is not, I might have met him, and I'm not 100% sure. And this isn't an indictment on the guy. The gimmick has got him over and got him booked. Good for him. It's just not my taste of wrestling. He was doing that a lot. I like to say that, that I don't want to go too harsh, because I'm not trying to be, but you got to sell something or nothing matters. And all it was focused was on the pizza. And I feel that should be an accessory that's used wisely and in important spots, not the entire thing.
Well, and like this, of course, I'm still trying to keep an open mind, but like my personal opinion is like, I just don't find it funny. Like,
no,
at
not at all.
So,
and then there's
like,
one thing too, like, and then how long is Michael? What's the full name?
Michael Allen Richard Clark.
I keep saying a different name instead of Richard, but Michael Allen Richard Clark. I like his presence. He has a pretty good TV presence. But when he did the ankle hold, he was just hugging it. There was no hold on it. You have to cravat the foot. And he also didn't step on Luigi Primo's foot. Now, I know Luigi Primo was going to do something with the pizza around his leg, but you still need to trap the foot, cravat the other foot, so that he has to pull his foot out then to play with the pizza. But he just there was no hold there. And there's a couple things like that. It's like I wanted to really enjoy his work because I wasn't a fan of Luigi Primo's. And the only reason I wasn't a fan, like you said, it's just not my taste of wrestling. If you can play with a pizza while you can move, he went to the floor, and every time he was just picking up the dough and playing with it instead of selling what was happening. And that takes me out of the match personally. Again, if there are people that like it, I'm not saying that you're stupid. I'm not saying that I don't like you because you like it. It's just not my personal taste. Like some people like vanilla ice cream. I like strawberry ice cream. It's just vanilla is not my taste. And his work just wasn't my taste. And like I said, like not grabbing, I don't know, that kind of frustrated me the most of the match. Was okay, I know what I'm going to get with Luigi Primo, but then not actually having a hold on the foot. I was like, man, you got a good presence. You seem confident in talking on commentary. When you're on commentary, you are in shape. You look like a wrestler. He's very. I don't know if he's ever done TV, but he looked like he had TV experience because he was very good at finding the cameras. But that one toe hold was like, man, you got to know that. Like, you got to know that. But the TV presence that Michael Allen, Richard Clark had felt good. And I think there's something there if we hone in on the basics and how to really perform and execute every little thing. I think he could be a star from MLP because he even knew how to get into position. The only thing I kind of hate that float over for the pin that people do. So they're when you land, you're facing hard camera. But it is what.
And I think, and like we talked about this in the last match with Michael Allen, Richard Clark, it's just kind of those little things to flush things out and get points across, i.e., like he's a real dick or he's a vicious wrestler, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And like
he had some very high, like I liked when he was kind of playing with Luigi with the pizza dough when he's dragging it across and then dropped the elbow in the back. Like there was a lot of good things that he did. It's just like that toe hold kills me. I don't know why he didn't actually lock on the hold and trap the foot. And then, like I said, he does that. I forget who Sean O'Hare used to do it. That finish he does, right? The DVD, but he puts them this way. And the thought process, I got to look at the camera as I do it. But if you pick them up looking at the camera and then turn your back to the camera, as you actually do the move, they're going to see you boom, and then you can grab the cover instead of hitting it one way and then having to float over the body so you're in position for the camera. To me, that just seems it seems like you're performing rather than working, right? And when you work, you want to put yourself into a position that you're in that position at the final stages rather than have to work for that position in a way that you can't really work it because you weren't in a position to do something active to get into position. You had to just get into position because that was the right call. And I would have rather see him do the move in a way that he landed facing the camera instead of having to float over to face the camera.
But see now, like you mentioned the spot where they were trying to get the heat with the Luigi Primo crawling for the pizza dough, which I wrote down that like I would have just taken all that out and really what I would have did with this was I would have had Luigi Primo come out, do whatever with the pizza dough just to get over, get a little shine spot, and then just have Michael and Richard Clark beat the shit out of him. And
I agree. And I'm saying in the confines of what they showed, I understand that.
But like I'm saying too, like I feel like because of the gimmick, Luigi Primo, like that spot only had so much mileage because the crowd just couldn't get into him. At least that's what I'm from my perspective.
I agree. And another note about the commentary, he was using it as a weapon for his comeback, and Morrow had to point it out. And it's like, no, it's an illegal weapon. Like even though it might not cause much damage, it's an illegal weapon.
That was my next point. It's a part of his body. So now I'm going to be Mr. Brass Knuckles, not Mr. Marvelous, and I'm going to come to the ring with Brass Knuckles, and you're all just going to have to figure that out.
And that's not an indictment on Morrow. He was trying his best.
He's working. He's trying to make it work. I don't fault Morrow. Morrow's doing his best, but like when you're presented with this, and you have to take it seriously, you have to make the leaps to make it work, because otherwise. You can't just shit on it. Like that's not going to serve anybody, right?
No, definitely not. Not my taste. I hope that they do something different with Michael Allen, Richard Clark. I'm surprised because we brought up, Psycho Mike. There was no mention of him on this show. And I understand you only have, 44 minutes when it comes to commercial breaks, but I don't know. I feel like they're putting a lot of stock in a lot of the talent that's not Canadian. No, maybe I'm wrong with saying that because they are focusing on
your sentiment isn't like unique. Like there's definitely, if you read through comments from people watching it online, they're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That they're focusing on non-Canadians.
Okay.
So
But then even with saying that, I get, player, maybe they think Evil Uno's Canadian, PCO's Canadian, Stu's Canadian. So I think they're doing equal. I guess just what's frustrating a little bit is it seems like out of all the shows, to me, especially as like a homegrown talent, Psycho Mike's got the best reactions, and his video packages were tremendous.
For sure.
So it's like I would like to capitalize on that momentum because he's very clearly could be a star. And that's a gimmick where when he has to become serious, he could get serious and be a real contender. But getting this fully over would help him be able to get serious at some point. Right.
So the next thing was a promo with Bhupinder. Do you know Bhupinder?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah.
He was doing some TNA stuff here and there when I
was. Okay, that's right. Yeah, he was around then. Yeah. The promo I just thought was fine. Or not promo, it was a vignette. I thought it was just fine.
And it was so low when they said his name because I forgot his name during the package and had to recall what his name was because I know that I think Morrow said it kind of over when he was running or training or something, but like there was no significant to say who he was. Like with the Mo Jabari thing, they kind of have that lower third to introduce him. I mean, they had the lower third for Bret Hart, for Christ's sakes. You gotta say something for Bhupinder that not a lot of people would know.
And like his getup was good. Like he had like this like necklace. Like there's obviously a cultural thing, but then like I thought like the backdrop of him like I guess jogging through the desolate streets of Windsor was just kind of like I don't know, I'd put him in a gym or even like have him doing something Indian or like doing some like Indian training or something. But
what I miss that kind of stuff. Like sidebar. When we were doing stuff for CIW, we had Hodari out of Indianapolis that you knew. I knew him personally. I would go up and help lead class at WCWO, and I would train my student Calvin Coco there. And he had such a personality outside the ring. I'm like, why are you a monster mute? Like, that's not you. So we made him the dog pound hound Andre Stray. And after his faction turned on him when he became Andre Stray, our first vignette was him at a dog pound. Right. So like he's like cutting the promo and then he's dancing up and down the aisles with all the dogs going nuts and stuff. And it's like, that's okay to do as long as you make it make sense for the character. Like just because he's and then after the matches we had him win and then we'd invite all the kids in the ring to dance with him, because he's coming out with like where the dog's at and stuff, like just a fun little thing for people. You can still be a serious wrestler and like you said, have the promo fit what you represent. Like I kind of miss a little bit about that about wrestling. Not everything has to be corny and not everything has to be like sound bites like the 80s. You can still talk naturally, but like, show me a little bit of your culture. Show me a little bit something that fits what you're going to present with your entrance. And when I see you wrestle on TV rather than just something for the sake of something.
Yeah. And like it specifically, like when he does wrestle or when he does make an entrance, he's obviously portraying someone that's Indian and he is Indian. Right. So it's like, why would you do a vignette where it's nothing to do with being an Indian?
I agree.
But we actually glossed over another vignette, and we're going to get to it now. Mo Jabari and Bret Hart. And this was earlier in the show, but we'll get to it now.
I think they announced Mo Jabari's debut on TV, and that's why I kind of forgot about this promo, because as far as I'm concerned, that debut throws away all the work they've done with Bret Hart putting over Mo Jabari.
Yeah.
And that's not an indictment on Mo Jabari. Obviously having Bret on your TV, speak highly of a wrestler. And he literally was like, his technique is great. Like he's putting him over as a good wrestler. And then his debut is going to be in a 4-corner tag with 7 other people in it, teaming with El Reverso, who we've never seen on TV, who nothing against.
It's not even his partner. They're not a legit team.
I think somebody had pointed out they've been a team on that Ignition YouTube show, but it's
Okay.
like, okay, well, still, man, like, no offense to El Reverso, this is not a knock on his talent or him as a person, but you're not anywhere. So, like, you'd be better off having a name come in and team with Mo Jabari than have him just team with another talent that you're trying to use as a Canadian talent. Because, I mean, I'm telling you right now, the grizzled young vets and Suicida and Dorada are going to be the standouts in that match just because they have more experience and are more flashy. And you're kind of not, I mean, not even kind of, you're just not capitalizing on having one of, if not the greatest wrestler in the ever, let alone just in Canada, promote this guy. And then you're going to throw away his debut with 7 other people involved on a 44-minute TV show. Even if that match goes 20 minutes, if you're doing the numbers, he's going to get what, 3 minutes?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say. So Brett comes in the vignette and he's putting over how sharp his technique is, and he does everything right and all this stuff. And it's like he's not gonna be able to show any of it.
Right. As I said,
This
think about it.
tag team.
7 times 3 is 21. So
Yeah.
for him to get 3 minutes of action, he's going to have to go 21 minutes. Now, it might because there's only 2 matches, as far as I know, announced for next week, right? The title versus title and
Yes.
that 4-way tag. So like I said, I don't know what the point of having this match is. Maybe just to get people on the card. I would assume the Grizzled Young Vets win because they've got to win, and First Faction needs opponents. But that's just my take on it. Again, that's not an indictment on Mo Jabari, especially not an indictment on Bret Hart, because I'm as much of a Bret Hart fan as you can find. But to me, that's a lost. That's definitely a lost opportunity to raise Mo Jabari stock following a friggin' legend putting him over for what was it,
Legend of legends.
like 3 different weeks he had segments like that.
I'll point this out again. Well, 2 things. 1, first impressions are a big deal.
Yes.
2, wait, I forgot my second point. I need to cut this out. Wait, another point. Oh, Mo Jabari is an excellent wrestler, and I don't think he's going to be able to show it. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what happens, and we'll book the draw.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we had the main event, the First Faction.
Like just even just thinking about it, from what I've seen and heard him talk, I think a good opponent would have been Michael Allen, Richard Clark, and Mo Jabari.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you showcase Mo.
You have a heel baby.
You have
face.
somebody who's capable of getting heat, because he did have. He had good facial expressions, good body language, knew where the hard camera was. Yeah, you know, as again, hindsight's 2020, and we'll see how. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's just Mo Jabari whooping everybody. I don't know, but we'll find out.
I was just gonna say, I don't even hate that it's a tag team. I hate that it's a 4-way tag team.
Yeah. I agree. And you know, again, nothing bad towards El Reverso. Just like, who is he to have this guy that Bret Hart's been putting over for weeks on TV to be his tag partner, right? And you're not going to turn Mo Jabari heel on him, and having Reverso turn heel on him to have them have a singles wouldn't make sense either, because it's nothing, right? So it's like you kind of just are throwing him out there to throw him out there because you had this footage of Bret Hart putting him over. Well, you know, you should have put him in a position. I would have rather see him debut this week against Michael Allen, Richard Clark. Honestly, that's what I would have done. I think it would have been a better platform for Mo. But again, that's just me, and hindsight's 2020, and maybe I'm wrong, but
we will shall see.
You know,
we don't know the result yet. We only know we're
I didn't even look into what I know.
Yeah, I don't know any spoilers, and I'm not going to look. So, the main event, Sheldon Jean and Brent Banks, First Faction, with their manager, First Faction, other member Bryce Hanson.
Yes.
Versus Subculture with their manager, Danny Luna, Mark Andrews, and Flash Morgan. again, because I mentioned earlier the the theme I felt like tonight was just lack of heat or not executing the heat, to make the match as good as it could be. And like in this case, like of course glossing over everything, I feel like they had the heat and they just blew the hot tag and then went into a whole bunch of stuff for the last 8 minutes. And I feel like it could have engaged more emotionally if they really took their time and got some adversity on the baby faces. At least just what I saw.
Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely something to that. I think this was a much better showing for First Faction.
yeah,
So with
for sure.
watching it, I think maybe it was the language barrier with Suicida and
Yeah, I could
Dorada
see
and
that.
style difference. Now, I don't necessarily think that's an excuse. And maybe that's ignorant of me to say, but I only say that that's not an excuse because I worked with many luchadors through my career and never felt like the language barrier prevented us from having a good match. Um, this was a standout match. There are some questions I have when we get near the end, but we'll get to that. Um, I think Brent is fantastic. It's funny that they're showcasing Sheldon from the First
Mhm.
Faction. And he might have the look and he is more comfortable talking than Brent, but Brent does a lot of little things that a lot of people do not do on this program if you pay
Mhm.
attention. Brent's a hell of a worker. I mean, I always thought he was talented. I tried to get him to break out in the States with me here and there, but he didn't want to travel as much at that time or couldn't travel, whatever it may be. I've always thought he was really talented, but he's really showing that how capable he
He,
is, and he has a personality. He might not talk a lot, but his body language and facial expressions show
yeah,
a real
like
good personality.
it doesn't necessarily stand out unless you're looking for it
Right.
because like the focus it just clearly seems to be on Sheldon.
Yes.
But you're right, I agree. Like there's a lot of just little like little hand gestures that like he does like and just shows interesting things.
Mhm.
I would definitely correspond with that. But
He looks more fluent in the ring too, and I mean,
yes,
he definitely has more experience than
yeah,
Sheldon. I think the first time I met Sheldon was, like, 2018, and I think he was relatively new then, and shit, I think Brent started in, like, 2006,
right,
2007.
yeah.
So, obviously, there's an experience difference, but Brent really, like, he's very impressive. I think he's super impressive, and I kinda hope that it turns into, you know, Brent and Sheldon having an angle because I think that would be good for both of them, and then Bryce kind of being torn in between them both would be a good angle moving forward. If I'm MLP, because I think Brent is not going to be a top guy just because he can't talk, but he would be somebody that I think Sheldon could have a really good angle with that could help take Sheldon to the next level.
Mhm. So, do you want to break this one down? Because I wrote down
Yeah.
they did some of the shine. I
Yeah.
think it
So
was all good.
yes,
Like
one
they,
thing though, Brent escaped all the knee work, and then you visually saw him on the outside just walking back and forth without even registering that
mm,
Mark Andrews did a 619 to the knee, and then Webster did a drop kick to his knee, and then went to work the knee as Brent escaped to get the tag to Sheldon, and he didn't sell the leg. I think that you know Webster and Andrews are fluent as a team. They're definitely showing that they are teammates. They're doing a lot of teamwork and blind tags and stuff like that. I think their teamwork was fantastic. Um, I think that Sheldon understands the TV presentation. He's very good at making sure his face, catches the camera and his body language is showing the camera. That's a benefit to him. Um, all their team stuff like the Sheldon trying to whip, getting the blind tag, and then the re-whip, and Mark Andrews coming in and double whipping and doing the double team. Um, One thing I see though, there was a point where Andrews had the arm wringer on Sheldon to tag in Webster. And I don't know where this got lost. The guys just sit in the arm wringer with no motion and let them drag them to the corner. Like, try to get away, try to pull, let them work the arm or let them overpower you. Like, you don't want them to take the team their partner because they have 5 seconds to work together on that arm that they have trapped. You do not want to be in that situation. And everybody just goes, oh, I guess it's time for the tag. Let's have them hold my arm and let them come in.
It looks better too if the guy giving the hold actually has to move the guy.
Yes, it's like, God, just if you're a tag team, please go watch Tully Blanchard in that spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So watch something that, God, there's so much wrestling on YouTube. Do you understand it? Maybe one time I'll show you all the DVDs and all the VHS tapes I have because we didn't have YouTube growing up. We didn't get to say, oh, I feel like watching Mid-South in 1984 and just clicking it on YouTube and it having the entire year of TV from 1984. Or, hey, I want to watch the Brain Busters, or let's just call them Tully and Arn because they're only Brain Busters in the WWF. I want to watch Arn and Tully versus Sting and Nikita Koloff, or Arn and Tully against the Rock and Roll Express, or the Rock and Roll Express against the Midnight Express. And it goes for singles too. It's like everything is literally at your fingertips. You can use this device called a telephone, and you can go on YouTube. And when you're on the treadmill, just put it like this. The phones are pretty big now. It's not the greatest view. Or if you have an iPad, take that for cardio. If you're going to do cardio, which you should be if you're a pro wrestler, watch something while you do cardio. Stop watching TV shows. Stop listening to music. If you're doing cardio, put on some damn wrestling. As a matter of fact, right over here, it's a little mess. That's a treadmill and that's a Stairmaster underneath my light. And then you look over there and there's a TV. Because if I do cardio at home, I'm going to watch TV. And when I watch TV, it's going to be wrestling. Like, I know the house is a little bit of a mess, and it's a mess because there's some construction going on upstairs, and we've had to filter everything down here to reorganize when the addition is done. But regardless of that, please watch some friggin' wrestling, because that, you don't want to be in something, right? If somebody's got you in a hold, you don't want to be in the hold. If somebody's trying to tag in their partner, you don't want them to tag in their partner because their partner is fresher than you are. Like, come on, get with the program, show some struggle. Now, I like all these guys. I like Subculture. I like Sheldon. I like Brent. Yeah. I'm just saying, the work is what grinds my gears. It's not the people. It's think about what you're doing, right? If somebody tries to grab my wrist, I don't want them to touch my wrist. What are you going to do? You're going to try to pull their hand off. Like, if somebody gives you a purple nurple, what are you going to do? You're going to try to break their hand away. It's just like common sense. You don't want to be in the position. Act like you don't want to be in the position.
And I think too, if they watch old tag team wrestling, like as in like good tag team wrestling, which is more of a lost art than anything, they could they went for the ref distraction on the heat spot.
Yes.
And I think it was just off. Like the ref was Harry D. He was standing like within eyesight of the.
I'll tell you why that didn't work. You want me to tell you exactly why it didn't work? The second Webster got into position, Brent backed away and had his arms up. Okay, so think about this positioning, right? If Brent went to get Webster and there comes Harry D. So now Harry D's on this side of it, right? And then Brent's like, come on, keeping Harry. And then Webster's on the apron. Sheldon throws the punch and Webster blocks it and hits him. Then as he hits, he spins. Now he's at Harry's back, which is taking him away from Brent. And then Brent's there for the cutoff and the ref's out of the position. But the second they got in the corner, Brent's acting like, hey, I'm going to play it fair. Like, no. You try to cheat, then you get the ref out of position, and then you cheat behind his back. You want to be admonished because that helps you get heat. If you go to cheat and the ref goes, hey, you're cheating, then the people go, hey, ref, don't let him cheat. And then when Sheldon takes the ref away, then it's like, oh, ref, he cheated, right? Like, you got to tell that story. And again, that's just underdeveloped understanding of the business. And I would like to see you agent in that match, because the second I saw that, I go, it was right there. It was right there. Like, why did you do it that way when it was right there? Like, it was right there in front of you. And I don't understand why they didn't do it.
And yeah, and you wonder when you're the smartest wrestling podcast in the world that like how did this slip through?
I
Of
really do. Like,
you
even
know, like
without the joke
because
of the smartest
again,
wrestling
we've
podcast.
talked about this. They would have been there at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
They would have figured out what they were doing. They would have walked through it probably 5 or 6 times more than they needed to because
Right.
they're just killing time anyways. And it's these little details that kind of make everything make sense and gets the audience to engage with things better, that they just, it's like, if I logically do this, this should happen. If I throw this pen against the wall, it should go down, not up. But
Right.
I don't know, when I threw the pen, it went up, and there we
Yeah.
go. That's wrestling.
I don't, I, yeah, I sometimes am at a loss for words when it comes to this because, like, it's right in front of you. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I'm very confident in my knowledge and my ability when it comes to pro wrestling. But then I watch something and go, wait, that doesn't make even the smallest amount of sense. Like, why isn't somebody pointing that out to them? Because as an agent, that's your job. Your job is, okay, call it back to me. What do you think if we do this spot this way? I think it will help if we do it this way. Let's go down to the ring and let's walk it. I mean, you hear when people talk about, yeah, I was at the ring. Who said it? The spot that I think Sheamus and Pete did with like the stairs, and Abyss told him, no, you don't need to jump on that. It will look good enough. And then they didn't, and it looked better or whatever. There was some story a while ago about that, and it's like that's what the agent is to, one, save yourself from yourself, but also make sure that you put the absolute best product you can in front of the people. The agent is supposed to be wiser because of experience, right? They're supposed to see things from the outside looking in because they don't have anything at stake in the match. The only thing they have at stake is, hey, I agented this match and it went great, right? Like, you want every match to be the best match possible if you're the agent, because you're kind of living vicariously through them as they're working because of your ideas helping them. But also, another thing that agents have to learn is you have to learn how to communicate to people in a way that they understand, right? You have to let them, you can't just tell somebody to do it and they're going to get it. You have to have them walk through it. You have to have them feel it, because if you feel it, you know why it works, right? Like when I teach seminars, or if I help out a school, or when I ran the school, when I have people do matches, I'll kind of go, okay, see this spot you did? I would have tried it this. And it always unanimously, after I do that, they go, man, that felt a lot smoother and a lot better. And I go, it looked a lot better, not necessarily smoother, but it made more sense. And it's a feeling. And the agents really have to pinpoint that, because it seems like every week it's very similar things that we are able to critique, because they're so widely, so I shouldn't say widely, because they're so blatantly in front of us. And the more similar things happen, the easier it is to pinpoint it, because then it becomes, oh, this again, this is routine for them not to do that. I'd really like them to pinpoint who they want guiding some of these matches and wrestlers, because it's there. The foundation is there. It's just like we're taking a long time. We're still sitting at 4 bricks up when we should be at 8 bricks up by now.
But now I'll give one little caveat, is that these 4 weeks was one round of tapings. So
Rest.
we could, maybe there was some reflection because they just taped another round of, I guess, 4 weeks. But maybe we'll see some improvement next week. But
Yeah, and maybe, yeah, I'm sure we will, because I don't know when the last tapings were. I don't know how long there was before the actual tapings and the debut of the TV, so if people are out there, I know Rohan was just in Mexico for CMLL in the Grand Prix, which I already won. But so hopefully, everybody's a little better, a little wiser moving forward. I definitely have high hopes. It's just the things I've seen can be corrected pretty easily if people pay attention to correcting them.
But then again, they went into an exchange spot with the tag teams.
Yeah,
And
that was a little bit after that was I actually have it here.
I'm jumping ahead, but the only reason why, because we're talking about it, but they did something pretty similar in the Fatal 4-Way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
it was they have to worry about that. But it was I don't even know how to say it. It was really weirdly put together, the strike off.
yeah,
But one thing I did like the hot tag, the flag Brent, hit the buckle,
mhm,
sidestep
mhm.
Sheldon, tag, dive into the corner. The one thing I kind of wish we didn't do was the hit the comeback whip reverse just to hit another move. And I know some people can say, well, it kind of makes sense because you're kind of last ditch effort and then you're standing there for the moonsault. It's like, if I'm able to reverse you, I think I'm able to see the moonsault coming. And maybe I'm thinking about it too much. Just sometimes in those spots, I would rather see dive into the corner, strike, kind of send them out of the corner, then climb up and hit the moonsault instead of having to whip reverse. It becomes unnecessary movement sometimes when the pop comes from the moonsault, not necessarily the whip reverse.
Well, and I think it's just it's a difference in the mentality of people being trained today, is that their priority is making it look cool
Yeah,
versus just
making it logical.
thinking what's happening here, which is you're making a comeback
Yeah.
and having it logically pieced together. But yeah, I also like the hot tag. I just, again, I would have liked to get more heat from the heels to make
Yeah.
it that much better, more meaningful. And
Yeah. People are so worried about the shine and the go home that
mhm,
they're forgetting to create a reason for the crowd to be invested emotionally rather than be invested in the motion, right? And there's a different feel in wrestling when you can be invested emotionally and emotionally. But it seems that the trend is everybody wants people to invest the motion of what's happening, not the emotion of what's happening. When the emotion and motion blended together fits perfectly and really makes for a great match.
mhm. So they in the midst of the go home, they had a little thing where Bryce, I think, hooked Brent's leg on the rope,
Yep.
and then he gets clobbered by Danny Luna, which then brings in Giselle to beat up Danny. And they did they did the Jim Cornette. They fought off.
Yeah. I was, you
it's,
know what?
it's like,
See, and okay. You jump somebody from behind and then they fight you.
yeah,
There is a ring post there. Push her into the damn ring post and let her sell. And then Mark Andrews comes to check on her and then walks you back. And the view is on you, the heel that just put her into the post. And that gives the distraction for what's happening in the ring instead of, oh, they're fighting to the back. What am I going to do? Like, just lay her out. You're the heel. Get some damn
yeah,
heat.
yeah, yeah.
They're so focused on Danny on the outside being hurt that it distracts them for the win rather than just fight to the back. Like, why? And why you globber from behind? And then, like, if you're cheap shotting somebody, the cheap shot is to get advantage. And this is pro wrestling. Let them get the friggin'. They did the same thing with Stu and
Yeah.
Rohan on week one. You're jumping somebody from behind and then they're able to fight back. Lay them out. Get some friggin' heat.
But
Why?
and
I
again,
don't want.
understanding the goal and understanding context and logic, right?
Lay
And
her out. Lay
but
her out.
yeah, lay her out. Like, what's
Get some
wrong
friggin'
with
heat.
what's wrong with sympathy for Danny Luna because she got cheap
If
shotted?
I'm in a match, and my manager is in a fight and it's not clear who's winning, I don't give a shit. I want to win the match.
Mhm.
But if she's laid out on the outside, I'm gonna go check on her. Right? Think about
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
That's the I don't. Yeah. Just. Whew. I'm getting heated up. I'm starting to sweat now. Like I'm getting that frustrated that it's like what don't you understand? Why? If you laid out from behind, I want you to lay me out from behind. Like lay me out from
That's
behind.
that's that's book to draw.
But not only that, it's like it's okay to fight back. Like or the post, we shouldn't fight back. And I know somebody's gonna say, but what about back in the day? Like when Four Horsemen would attack Dusty. Dusty wouldn't make a full comeback when it was four of them. What he would do was he tried to fight from his knees, right? He'd take maybe one down and try to get on him, but then the numbers game would happen. It's like, well, this is just one on one. If you jump from behind with the post right there, just grab her, run her into the post, let her sell, and then we get the outshot of Giselle, who's the champion, which is important because she's the heel and you want the babyface to win. So get the heat on the layout for the heel, get the sympathy on the babyface for eating the post. Then you have the babyface team checking on her and kind of admonishing Giselle as she's laughing down the aisleway. Like, come on, is that hard? Like, is it that hard? It's not. It's not.
We're saying it's not, yet they can't produce. I don't know. It's
I don't know either. And again, this is not. I want MLP to be great. I really do.
Yeah.
And, I have an issue with what Scott and Dawn did when it came to TNA, whether it was their initiative or somebody higher up. I'll be finding that out soon, right? But regardless of that, I genuinely want me to go. I can watch TNA, I can watch AEW, I can watch WWE, or I can watch MLP. Like, I want those to be four promotions. In a perfect world, MLP gets to a point where at least they can sign 10 people to at least $50K a year. So if they need to do some extra work or indies to supplement the rest of the income, at least they're making decent money with professional wrestling. I would love that for them. I really would. I would love them not to just be based out of Windsor. I would love them to do a whole loop of Canada. They're Maple Leaf Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to somebody in Vancouver. Hey, I know you run here regularly. We're going to run here every 2 months. We're going to run a little loop. Can you hook us up? You'll be our street team. We'll use some of your guys on our shows, kind of like back in the day when, WWF, before they took everything over, would go to Toronto, or NWA would go to places. They would use a couple local guys, build the town up, and it could be a touring brand in Canada. But I don't know. I want the best, not only for the promotion, for the people running the promotion, for the people that are wrestling for the promotion, for anybody who is invested in the promotion, whether it be financially, emotionally, or just timely wise, whatever you're investing in. I want it to be great. And these little things, it's like I maybe I just see things a little differently. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I
But it
think
seems like
we're
it's pretty universal because me and you are kind of hitting the same point. So it's like, why aren't the other people seeing the same things we see? And I know people are going to say, well, hindsight, you're reviewing. It's like, yeah, but my mind doesn't work that way. My mind works, if you give me a situation, I'm going to flush it out. Like, there's going to be a bunch of ideas. I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks all over the place where I just write stuff out and then I'll go back. No, maybe this section of this angle works better with this section of this angle, and this works better with that, and that works better with that. Like, you have to look at the whole view and see, like we said multiple times on different weeks, like we have to have different streams, right? We have to have, okay, if this is my main highway, I need an off ramp here, and I need an off ramp there, and I need an off ramp here, and I need to go here, and then maybe I need a detour over here, and then I need just a little service station over here. Like, I need all those things to pinpoint, okay, this idea is better than the other 9 ideas, but one of those ideas might work down the road for something or work for somebody else. And it just seems like that's not being flushed out when it comes to the in-ring work and stuff. Like, I understand the angles themselves. I know what we're building to, right? We're building to Danny Luna, and we're building to her and Giselle, right? And then we're building to likely first faction against somebody. I'm gonna put money on probably the Grizzled Young Vets. We're gonna get Psycho Mike and Jay Lethal. Like, I understand the stories that they have are captivating and can be important and hook viewers. But the road to get there is what they're slacking on, and that will help the emotional investment instead of just, oh, that will be a good match. It's like, I want to see so and so get his hands or her hands on so and so. I want there to be stakes. I want there to be emotions. I want there to be, I want there to be, you got lust in your eyes, brother. Like, I want that type of something, just give me something to emotionally invest in rather than just two good wrestlers going at it. And there's such little things like, I don't know. I really hope that they are focusing more on the match and the aftermath than just the we got to get this out there. This is the angle we're doing. We're going forward. And again, in this match, we had Bryce's interference work, but yet his first time the interference didn't work. Like, wouldn't you rather have him get over with letting his interference work and then get to the point where his interference stops working
Incongruency.
and
Yeah.
causing issues, and then we build the story? Like, it was kind of backwards, right? He did the shove to suicida, which ended up in the drop kick, and then he got heat from Sheldon. But now, very clearly, because Subculture won with this move in their debut episode, they now do their finish, and Bryce gets the foot on the ropes for the break of the count, saving the first faction the tag team titles. Why didn't that come first, second, third, and then he start messing up like that? That's not the layout that I understand.
And again,
I understand the story. I just don't understand the layout. Why not make him vital to the ingredient and then make him sour the final product, and then that's where the conflict starts?
like my only guess is it's just lack of I guess organization in the direction they want to go. But like all the things we harp on, we're talking about generating business and we're talking about getting emotional investment. So
Yes.
we're really not nitpicking. It's like I think we state our case pretty clear of why laying this out this way would be superior. But like in terms of the Giselle Shaw and Danny Luna match, like yeah, let's get heat on. Like I don't think Giselle got anything out of that spot
No, she
realistically.
attacked her from behind, and then they fought to the back.
Yeah, nothing.
Which her selling on the ground would have been more reason for Mark Andrews to go out and cause. Yeah, we're just gonna repeat this stuff. I think
But
obviously.
so the finish, Sheldon did a blind tag, came in. I think he hit a clothesline. Was that his finish or something?
Clothesline, and then the belly to back
Right,
into the
that's
power
what it is.
bomb thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what first faction went up?
And I'm glad that they went over with a tag team move this time, because the first match, it was just a straight move from Sheldon for the win. So I'm very happy that they showed that they have a tag team finisher, which is great. Especially when they get in there and it's a big match, and now they can have the team or a solo person reverse their finisher. That's why establishing a finisher is important for when you have somebody finally figure out a way out of it. And then when in tag team wrestling, it's really cool because there's multiple ways to break up when two guys are doing a move. Yeah, overall, I did like this match, even with the little stuff we're pointing out. Like,
well, you know what? The
it was easy to watch.
the
Yeah,
execution on like the actual in ring stuff was pretty on point. Like,
yeah, it was just they missed some beats.
Yeah,
right. It wasn't. It was a song that needed to go back in the studio a little bit. That's all. Right. It hit the charts, but it wasn't it didn't hit the top 5 because it missed a couple elements. That's all.
So then they close up the show with a Stu Grayson promo, which they're setting up Stu Grayson versus Rohan Raja, title versus title. That's actually going to be next week, which kind of segues us into talking about what they've announced for next week. But I guess really quick, how are you feeling about this build up for this match that's now going to come out next week?
I think that they have at least done something with it every week leading to it. I just feel like maybe we could have went longer. But again, that isn't necessarily the case, because so we got what, about 6 weeks till Mattamy Center? the old Maple Leaf Gardens.
Maybe 7. Yeah.
7 weeks. So maybe it's time to move Stu on to something that builds to something really big for that. So, um, you know, there could have been maybe a couple different ways to get it, maybe another week or so, but I don't know what's coming after. So I think they have done a good job of doing something with, what was it? Week 1 was the attack. Week 2 was Stu's out for concussion protocol. Week 3 is Evil Uno versus Rohan. Tonight they ended with the promo leading up to next week. So they've at least that's been their top angle for their main event. So they have put 4 weeks into it. I hope that anybody who's watching weekly on TSN has some kind of investment into it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the match and see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think again in terms of like just consistency and theme, I think they could have drawn it out more. Of course, we don't know the layout of
Right.
like where they're headed, so like I guess they just wanted to blow it off now. But again, I think there was a number of things that we've already talked about where they could have just fleshed things out better and probably gotten more emotional investment.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm assuming that they'll get a good amount of time and hopefully it's a great match. But that'll be next week. We haven't looked at the spoilers because we're not going to do that and we're not going to announce spoilers. But I'm guessing that'll go on last. But also, and we've already kind of referenced this too. There's a fatal 4-way tag team match with Mo Jabari and El Reverso versus the Grizzled Young Vets versus the Swirl versus Dorado and Suicida.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've already talked about the 4-way stuff, and I think a tag 4-way is even more of a cluster. But
Yeah,
I
but
think
you know what? I think too the good thing is Grizzled Young Vets, the Swirl and Suicida and Dorada are different enough that I'm hoping we do at least see 4 corner tags can be a lot, but they can be unique and special in a different way. Obviously, this isn't for emotional investment. This is if I was booking like a card that I was trying to put in front of an
this is
audience,
like an
not
action
TV.
scene.
Yeah, this would be
Yeah.
like, okay, we're about to go to intermission. Let's put this on before intermission so that we just see a bunch of wild shit so everybody can't wait to see what comes after intermission.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be a good match. I think it will be fun to watch. I think for how 4-way tags go, Suicida and Dorada are very skilled with multi-men matches coming from CMLL. The Swirl is very athletic and knows that style. The Grizzled Young Vets, I think, are tremendous. The only question mark is how Reverso and Mojabari fit in, and we'll see how that goes next week.
And I think too worth mentioning. We already talked about it, but the payoff of Mojibari's vignettes. But
Yes, we'll see. I
we'll see what happens.
I don't have high hopes for that aspect, but I do have high hopes for the match overall.
Yeah, and there's those 2 matches, and then it says there's a promo from Rhino,
and a promo from
there's a promo from Edge. I'm guessing that'll be like
Adam
a vignette
Copeland,
or
right?
something. Adam Copeland. Yeah, I call him Edge. He's Edge. I don't know, but and that's the card. There's no other matches, so I'm guessing the Rhino thing will set up something,
maybe,
an angle.
and then do him and Adam team.
Ooh.
That could be something because they have history too.
I feel like
I just think that Adam's going to do a tag match. That's all.
Yeah, I can get on with that, but you know what? I think like if you do a tag with Adam, I feel like you just have to get Christian. I don't know.
No, because I think you use Adam to put over one of your guys like as his partner. So I don't think Rhino would be the best partner for him. But Rhino could probably eat a pin in a match involving Adam, which could be good for a heel team. There's a lot of ways. I don't know. There's
and I think
there's a lot of things they could do.
It comes down to just deciding which direction, and then you lay the path out.
But, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That's gonna do it. Do you have anything else to say? We've riffed quite a bit.
No, I hope anybody who's watching is learning whether it be about MLP or just themselves as a fan or as a wrestler. That's what this is for. We really are truly just trying to break down things in a way so people can understand, comprehend, and utilize. And I think we're doing a good job. Hopefully we start getting some questions and some stuff like that, because being interactive with anybody who's paying attention would be nice. I know that they're a little bit longer for, a 44-minute TV show, but we're really truly, I mean, if I'm going to book a 44-minute TV show, it's probably going to be a couple hours to map it out.
Yeah, there's a lot that
So,
goes into it.
yeah, there's a ton, and that's why we want to go into great detail, I would say, because it's important to get the point across, one, without coming off as shitty, like we're not trying to run anybody down, but also it's one thing to say, hey, this didn't work, but then you have to explain why it didn't work and what could have worked better. And I think that's the point of this. Is it's not just, oh, I hated this and this sucks and why would you do that? It's like, well, this didn't work because of this, and it could have worked if we did it this way, and it could have even been better than that if we did it that way. And it's just really an in-depth breakdown, and I don't know, maybe a roadmap for how to understand and comprehend what wrestling is supposed to be. Because often I think it's been lost in translation of what wrestling is supposed to be. Um, Wrestling's not just two guys doing moves to each other, it's two people in a battle that gets people emotionally invested so they care about the people individually and the outcome. And it's let's do stuff to do stuff. And I hope that, yeah.
So this is Book to Draw, the smartest wrestling podcast in the world. And I'm Mr. Marvelous, and there's my co-host.
Michael Elgin.
And this is Book to Draw.
Hell yeah.